Okay, and we're back. Just had to wait for the paint to dry. While we're off camera, I actually put some primer on the back wing because I was getting a lot of paint on it. Or nail polish, whatever you want to call it. But I think it's time we got to painting the rest of this. Now, for the next bit, we're going to be working on the edges of the wings and a lot of the primed areas on the main jet body. And we're going to be painting majority of it with this Model Masters Turn Signal Amber Metallic, which pretty much means a metallic yellow or orange, somewhere in between those two. So now I'm just using a basic brush that came with a group of paints. Mix it up real nice, because this is a thinner paint, so that's why I'm priming this first. But, yeah, we're gonna paint the wing, and yeah, it's not exactly a yellow, but it's more of an orange. Still, paint it on here. Again, like I said, this is a very thin kind of paint, so it's hard to say if this will turn out the way I want it or not. That part in, and then we'll just start doing this inner part. As you can see, it is coming along, although the paint does seem to... This is one that I'm going to have to actually let dry before I even try to flip onto the other side, because it looks like it's coming on very thin, and this might require a couple coats before it's actually fully done. As you can see, it's even starting to drip off the bottom. Gonna get this side in. Mix it up pretty good before I try to apply more. And then we're going to get it onto this side here. Don't ask me why I'm really obsessed with metallics. I just really like them. So that's why I try to use them when I can. Now, that takes care of that part. The wings, as you can see, they're coming on nicely. Of course, it might require a couple coats to see how that goes. tricky part is to see how how this paint works with the primer that I did on the main body. Well, let's find out, shall we? So far it looks like it's coming on pretty good. Might even be coming on better than it did on the wings. So there's definitely something to using primers. This one side. And yeah, I got a bit of a shaky hand, unfortunately. But see about working around that and getting this the way we want it. Now, even with the primer, this might require a couple coats just to make sure that it works out right. And I gotta do this carefully because it seems like it's dripping down to the bottom, which may be better if I try to flatten this out a bit, like so. Oh, like a hair got in the way on that. Okay. Yeah. Okay, that looks like it's coming along okay. Although there's a little bit of excess on this part. Yeah, I'll have to try to clean this off a bit. That's why I wanted to wait till the paint dried on the nail polish, so I could wipe off any excess with ease without ruining the what was painted on before. It's not going to be perfect, unfortunately, but it's going to look pretty good. Yeah, we're getting there. Lower the landing gear on the front. Try to get this as flat as we can. Try to reduce the drippage on there too. Yeah, you can see the jet is coming along nicely. It might have been better if I tried to use a gold with this, but that never turns out the way I kind of want it. So I'm just going to stick with the amber. Now see if that turns out the way I like. Because if not, we can always go over it with gold later. I'm just trying to get just enough to coat what I need to without creating any runoff to the bottom, which is rather tricky. It's like I said probably a billion times already, this is really thin paint and it doesn't always stay where you put it. And again, I'm not a professional customizer like Frenzy Rumble or them. I don't use all the tricks. And I'm just doing this for fun. Because I want to get it figured the way I want it. You know. And it's fun to do it yourself. I mean, if you want to pay someone to paint it for you, like if you don't feel like you're good enough at painting to do it yourself, that's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to hold that against anybody. But there is a feeling of satisfaction in painting these yourself. So I would recommend anybody can try it, you know, at least. I mean, if you don't enjoy painting or anything like that, then you know, this probably wouldn't be for you. But otherwise, you know, give it a shot. I mean, never hurts to try. Get the front. Try not to overwhelm it with paint. And if you're going to add multiple layers, give the paint time to dry before adding the next layer, or it's going to just go down, drip down to a place where it shouldn't, and kind of mess things up. But yeah, just trying to get parts of the front. And really I should be using a different size brush for this part here, because it's kind of hard to control this size, like this big brush in here, these tiny little openings. And so this might be a case of learn by what I'm saying but not by what I'm actually doing, if you want to learn anything from it. So I mean, it's not impossible to use a big brush and get some good details in there, but it's a lot easier with a smaller brush to detail, because it gives you a lot of room to work with. For these big brushes, it's very easy to make a mistake. Also gotta be sure that you coat these evenly, or it's going to mess with the color look, or the color appearance. Because if one side looks like it's thicker than the other, it's going to make it look a little darker or deeper or lighter. I mean, depending on the color. Like if they're not even, the color is going to show through more on one side than it does on the other. Yeah, we got our, pretty much got our gold, like our amber in there. And that might require another coat after it's given some time to dry. It's hard to say for certain, but we'll have to give it time and find out. I got paint on my hand. Okay. I'm going to clean my brush, and I'm just using rubbing alcohol as a thinner to clean my dip, like your standard rubbing alcohol. Not the best thinner, but it does the job for me. really your best bets would be like Turpenoid, or maybe Tester's paint thinner if you can get a large amount of it. Don't use what's just in the bottle, because that's more for, not for cleaning brushes, but for actually diluting paints to spread easier. And yeah, I'm probably going to get more flaming comments about how I treat the brushes. But, you know, that's just how it goes sometimes. But this is just, like I said, this is just a small brush that came with a set of paints. Not like a big deal one. But done with the turn signal amber for now. We'll be getting back to that later because I think we're going to need to. But there's some more detailing I want to do on this jet. If I can get the paint open. Should have run a test on this before I even started recording. Oh, here we go. But yeah, this time we're going to be using a blue metal flake, which I'm using for the same reason that I like to use the turn signal amber. Is that I like metallics. Just trying to get it mixed up, because it's hard to get this the way you want it. As you can see, it's still a gooey kind of paint too. Things considered, I might be better off trying to use a smaller brush for what I want to do on this particular piece. Like this one here. So set you down. And this is just a piece of wood that I'm working on right now. Which will make things easier. Yeah, we're gonna do some of the details in a blue metal flake. Just showing up really nicely on that primer. And if you're gonna put your hand on this, make sure you're doing it on a part that's already dried. Otherwise, you're going to put fingerprints on the figure and paint on your fingertips. Neither of which is good. Yeah, we're going to get that blue metal flake right on these two chest bits. Probably looks strange, but at the same time, give it a little more personality. And we're also going to put a little bit on this canopy piece. Now, I thought about doing this in red, but I figured I'll do it in blue just to make sure it goes together. You want to paint smoothly so you don't get too many air bubbles or brush stroke marks. And yeah, it's going to be hard to avoid that sometimes. But, you know, just keep working at it patiently, slowly. Don't rush yourself through this, basically. And you should be fine. Try to make the coats as even as possible. And yeah, it's not always easy to get this right, so if you make a few mistakes, that's understandable. Like I said, unless you're trying to do this like super professionally, like sell it for a living, you can be a little lax if you want. And especially if you're only making this for yourself like I am. Which is a nice thing about customizing for yourself. You're the only person you really have to answer to, so ultimately it's up to you what's good and what's not. Okay, that gets all the details for that part. But there are still some bits that I want to give some attention to, but I'll use the bigger brush for those. And yeah, when you're painting, you want a paper towel handy. It's going to make cleaning the brushes a lot easier. You can actually go in there, wipe it all clean as you want.